All right, welcome to our soul care conversations. I am not your host, but one of the therapists here at Soul Care. My name is Nigel, and I have my wonderful colleague with me, Josh, who will introduce himself shortly. Soul Care, and we're going to be talking about, what it's like being a male therapist in this field. We're going to talk about our experience, some of the things that we have learned, some of the things that we are navigating in our own practice and just how we are supporting clients. But before we get into all of that, we are going to, of course, introduce ourselves. As I already said, I am Nigel. I think this is like my second episode or third episode, can't remember, but definitely I have been on here before.
He
I
loves
am.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think I have a love for the mic or something. I don't know. But of course, you guys know me. I am one of the male therapists here at Soul Care. I absolutely love what I do. I've been with Soul Care going on, I think, about 3 years now. But yeah, I hold I believe this is a real privilege and honor to support, individuals and walking with them, journeying with them on in their respective lives, navigating through different aspects of their lives. Yeah, I love what I do. I love showing up. I love being present for individuals. I am also the practicum program manager here at Soul Care.
Yeah.
So I support our interns and just, fleshing out that program and just continuously wanting to make it better and more efficient as possible. And yeah, that is a little bit about me. Josh, introduce yourself. Let the people know
Yeah.
who you are.
So my name is Josh. Again, I love being at Soul Care as well. I think going on 2 years, which is wild to me because it feels like I just started. But yeah, going on 2 years, and I just work with a diverse clientele in terms of whether cultural, whether age, whether male, female, whatever. It's been an awesome opportunity just to connect with different people and join them in their journey on their lives, and really seeing that soul care come through, really seeing our pillars come through, whether we're
Yeah.
advocating for body care, spiritual care, self-love, community, that kind of stuff. So this is kind of my privilege to be able to do podcasts like this, to be able to just have these conversations. I think we got a really good one now. It was Nigel's idea to do one about what it's like just to be a male therapist in a female dominated field. And so this is great. And even being the two male psychotherapists on the team,
Mm-hmm,
we have another Princeton, sorry, is our what's his family.
Yeah, he's a family coach.
Yeah, yeah. But Nigel and I as the two psychotherapists, two male psychotherapists, I think it's just going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kick this right off. How did you get into this field, Josh? How did you get into this field to be now identified as like a black male therapist, black male therapist? What
Yeah,
was your
man.
journey like?
I think I was 11, and there was this
Mm,
role on a movie, and it was just this mom, and she was a psychotherapist, and I was like, I had this thing at 11. I was like, that's what I want to do. I didn't
yeah.
know what I want to do. Like, I didn't want to get into the typical things. I grew up in a small town, so I didn't want to get it into the typical small town things. So I was
Hmm.
like, this is what I want to do. And then I forgot about it because there wasn't really those opportunities that presented to me
Yeah.
as a black male in a small town. So it was actually through my own kind of teenage adult struggles that brought me back into a place of counseling, helping people. So I started out in addictions counseling, then went into pastoral ministry, back into psychotherapy, and then I just been doing what I've been doing.
Wow, I love that journey, and I think one of the things that I heard is just like you knew you wanted to help people. You weren't sure of
Yeah.
like what that looked like, but we just knew we wanted to help people, and I can relate to that. I kind of had the same experience of like knowing, yeah, I want to be in a field where I'm helping someone, but I think that word help wasn't clearly defined for me. I didn't know what it looked like to actually help or what it meant to actually help or what it was going to look like to help. But I just knew that like I wanted to be in a field where I was helping, where I was giving back, where I was able to shoulder the weight of the world that people were
Yeah.
experiencing and just giving them support and wisdom. But then on
Yeah.
top of that, it was like because I was doing that in my personal life and just being that person, I realized like I didn't have language. And I think like for me, like that was the biggest driving factor for me of like going back to school, getting my master's and doing all of that in terms of like, just getting the language and wisdom and insight as to what individuals are experiencing and how I can better
Yeah.
support them. What that looks like, being able to
Yeah.
journey with them in a different way there. Yeah.
So you got a solid foundation from the schooling, and I'm sure it wasn't just all academic. I'm sure there was lots of just reflective stuff that you were reflecting on your own time, but it sounds like you really got that foundation to be able to step into this field, right? And
Yeah.
tell me what that was like when you finally were able to step into what you knew you wanted to do to help people, right? What was
Yeah.
it like to step in?
Being in was scary. And I think it was scary, and I want to use the word overwhelming, but I don't feel like overwhelming does the job. But I would say like there was just like a lot happening when I stepped in. So I
Yeah.
reflecting on when I actually started my master's. I started my master's in September 2020, and we all remember what the world was like. We were shut down. It was pandemic. Everything was just up in the air, and here I was like starting my master's in counseling psychology, and then on top of that my son was born. So I started September, my son was born November, then still, yeah, so entered fatherhood that time. So I remember being in the hospital, editing papers while my wife is in the bed sleeping, and all that stuff. And then we relocated from Toronto to Edmonton while I was still in school, and then we made some other life moves while I was still in school. So like for me, it was all about that aspect of just like navigating and managing different aspects of life, knowing that, becoming a therapist was the goal, and just having to manage so many different things at the same time. And then finally, finishing my degree and
Yeah.
stepping in, it was almost a relief, but pressure at the same time, in terms of like, wow, there's this relief of I finally did this. I finally finished. And just the significance of me finishing, what it meant for my family and external family
Yeah.
and friends and things along those lines. But then there's pressure in terms of like, wow, I'm now going to be responsible, you know, for the wellness aspect to some degree of individuals now. I'm
Yeah.
now going to be responsible for how a person, in some regards, navigates their lived experiences, navigates life transitions, navigates grief, navigates whatever they possibly may be experiencing. I am now going to be responsible for that. And just understanding that, like, I'm fresh out of school. I
Yeah.
know stuff, but I don't have everything.
Think something that stands out to there, you really said trial by fire, man. Like
Yeah.
you really like started, but potentially it's that if we bring in like kind of refinement language and that kind of stuff, I think I wonder if you would have struggled even more, or if you didn't have kind of like, okay, this is, I'm doing school at a very real time. Like this is like, I'm gonna have to be resilient. I'm gonna have to push through. I'm gonna have to really learn. And I'm wondering if that, man, made you equipped all the more than you actually realized. Like, I think that trial by fire, getting that foundation at the time it was, all your senses are on, you're doing your thing, and then stepping in. I guarantee it refined you in such a good way to do really good helping work as you wanted to.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. I would definitely say there was a lot of refinement happening and just a lot of putting things into perspective. And also just the aspect of like being okay with the way things are, in terms of like, yeah, I finished my master's. Yes, I'm in the field, but I'm still a baby in the field, if that makes sense. Like I have some knowledge, but I don't know everything, and I haven't experienced everything. So then with that is the aspect of like I'm learning, and I have been learning and currently learning like my capacity when it comes to being a male therapist. It's not every clientele that I have a consultation with that I take on. It's not every individual that reaches out that I'm able to take on because of the bandwidth that I know I have for myself, but also wanting to be, accountable to that individual and be like, yeah, I may actually not be the best fit. And even though I want to try and help, I know my trying to help could cause some sort of delay for where that
Yeah,
individual may want to be.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, if I was even to use like you as an example, is like you specialize in addictions. I don't. I don't specialize in addictions. I don't have the competencies in that.
Mm,
So it would be harmful for me to
yeah,
take on a client who's struggling with addictions, trying to support them in the name of wanting to
yeah.
help.
I think this
Yeah.
shows a maturity though, because if we're talking about being a male therapist, the stereotypical or one of the stereotypical aspects of a male is I'm going to fix everything, right? And so you could have entered the field and have been like, I'm gonna take on everything. And this is a problem maybe I struggled with early on is like, you know, you have everyone finding their niche. You're a baby therapist. You don't know what to niche, and so you try to take on everything, right? But for you to be able to not step into the stereotypical male kind of role of like, I'm just gonna fix everything. I'm gonna take on addictions people. I'm gonna take on this. I'm gonna take on this. That's a thing of maturity, right? And I think for me it was more of the learning about myself. So I also started January 2020,
Yeah.
right
Right. And I
right
think,
around COVID. That's why I
yeah.
started my master's and that kind of stuff. And so a lot going on in that. Things are closing down, not sure what we're doing. I'm doing all school online, which has its pros and cons, but
Yeah.
then kind of hitting a snag with my internship and then it just so much going on in the 3 years that I did my master's that it's stepping into the field. And one of the greatest things I did over that journey, maybe it was a blessing from my mentors, my professors, and then maybe just how COVID rearranged things, is I learned a lot about myself. And I think in learning a lot about myself, there was also that perspective, that refinement. And so then for me, stepping into the field, I didn't feel like, you know what, I have to fix everything. I didn't
Hmm.
step in feeling like I have to take on everything.
Hmm.
Right. But I remember during schooling, there were some of those thoughts of like, man, I don't even know what I'm going to niche in. I got to take on everything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just learning, okay, what does it look like to be, you know, a psychotherapist,
Hmm.
post-pandemic, black male, like, there's
Yeah.
a whole thing that comes to it, which I'm sure we're gonna get in
Yeah.
deeper here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think even what you shared there is like there are so many different, I don't know if I guess nuances is maybe the word to use, but or maybe it's just so many different aspects of being a male therapist that we have to navigate through. Right. And I think we've already started touching on that aspect of like being a male and just having that mindset of wanting to be a fixer and being in a space where we're actually called to not be the fixer. We're in a space where we aren't really supposed to have all the answers, but more so along the lines that we're guiding individuals to their own resolve. We're guiding individuals to where they need to be in their respective journey. So I think, there's that aspect. But then I think what I've experienced at least, it's that aspect of where, because I'm a male therapist, I have people coming and asking me questions, expecting me to have answers still,
Yeah. Yeah.
expecting me to know it all because I am a male therapist, or asking me my perspective because I am a therapist. So let's talk about, that pressure, of
Yeah.
being a male therapist and
Yeah.
what that looks like in, the space that we function in, but also
Yeah.
outside this space,
Sure.
what that looks like. Yeah.
No, I'm laughing because I'm not gonna lie. This answer might be completely different than what you're expecting, but man, I had to
Mhm.
shut it down.
Mm,
So I don't necessarily deal with that pressure much anymore.
okay.
Externally people try to,
Yeah.
but basically what I've come to my mind is I'm not on the clock
Yeah.
when you come with your questions. You're not paying me whatever X amount of dollars per hour.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
so
mhm.
I'm gonna chill. Cause I'll get people that'll be like, oh, they'll ask about this, or they'll be like, "Oh, are you analyzing me right now?" And
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
there's so
yeah.
many things coming, and I'm like, "Listen, I'm not on the clock. I'm not, I'm not making money right now.
Right, right.
Yeah, I'm just chill." That being said, I'm just a natural, deep conversationalist. I don't like small talk necessarily,
Mhm,
and so I'll have deep conversations of care and wellness. That's Josh,
mhm.
even beyond the psychotherapy role. But I think there have been in the past pressures to feel like I got to know it all. I think that hit me in school. And when I was in
Okay.
school, I was just recovering from a burnout. And I think burning out really was like, yo, you have to keep your capacity in check. You can't fix everything. You can't know everything. You
Mhm,
can't answer everything.
mhm.
So that put me, burning out sucks. I wouldn't wish it on
Yeah,
people, but I think that helped me get to the place where now I can answer the question like this is I don't let it create internal pressure anymore. I have a way to, whether it's compartmentalizing or just kind of like, it's a perspective. I don't need to know everything. I don't need to hold everything together. And when you come with your questions, or you come with like, are you analyzing me? I can be like, nah, I'm off the clock.
yeah.
This is Josh. I'm just gonna chill.
Mhm.
We can talk if we want, but I don't feel the pressure to feel on all the time. What about for you? Like, is
Yeah.
it you have
Yeah, for me, I would definitely say, like, that pressure comes and goes almost. So I think, and I think you spoke to it too, just like our natural demeanor almost gives off like we're in therapist mode or whatever the case may be. Like we have our therapist hat.
I don't mean
Yeah.
to cut you off.
Yeah.
It because then here's what I'm doing, Nigel. I'm having
Mhm.
the disclaimer when I'm talking to people, even my
Yeah.
therapist friends. I'll be like, ask a question. It's very sincere. It's very deep,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
I'll have
yeah,
to do
yeah.
a disclaimer. I'm not trying to be therapist-y
Yeah,
here.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Nah, that's just
yeah.
it's just who I am, bro.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but
No, no, because you know
yeah,
what? I'm the same way because when I'm having conversation with friends, especially if it's over text, I'll be like, I'm saying this to you because my therapist brain is going right now, or
yeah,
I have on my therapist hat and I can't help it but like ask you this question because my hat, you know what I mean? But like I find that like my natural disposition, and is what you spoke to, is like my natural disposition, like, yeah, we're gonna have these kind of deep conversations and we're gonna speak about things and talk about things. It may come off like, I'm therapizing you, as people like to use that word with me. But really it's just, this is me having a conversation with you, and because of the relational dynamic I have with certain individuals, yeah, I may challenge you the same way
yeah,
I
yeah,
challenge a client. I may offer a different solution the same way I may do that with a client. But at the end of the day, this is me being me in these
yeah,
spaces. This is me being me in these relationships. But
yeah,
definitely, I think that pressure is always kind of on and off for me, and I'm also learning and pinpointing when I feel that
yeah,
pressure on, and who's it associated with, and
yeah,
now thinking about, okay, how do I eliminate or mitigate certain conversations, or how often I'm speaking to certain individuals,
yeah,
people people know what you do or know what we do, they'll be strategic in how to abuse it in a, how would I want to term it? They'll find a way to abuse and use you, not from a malicious aspect, but just knowing because of the access they have to you.
yeah. The
They
access is a
they
good word.
yeah, act because of that access, they feel that they can ask you certain questions and get the professional response without showing up on the other end from the professional aspect.
So let me sneak in here and ask a question. This brings it in. Do you ever feel like the ego comes through in some of those moments? It's like, yeah, I know let me tell you, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
ever
yeah.
have those?
You know what? Yeah. Sometimes that ego is there in terms of like it's there from the aspect of a privilege, where it's like, okay, yeah, I they're asking me this because of the work that I've done, and because I'm always a lifelong learner and just committed to learning. Yeah, you're asking me a question. I'm learning about this, and let me share. And it literally happened to me like just last night. I was having a conversation with someone and I was like, wow, they said something that sparked and triggered something that I'm currently learning in a course that I'm taking. And I'm like, okay, let me share this with you. And then hopefully it gives you some language for what you're experiencing, what you're navigating through. But definitely is like that pressure is there. It comes and it goes. And I rather it not come and show up as often
Yeah,
as it does. But then on the other end, it's the aspect like, okay, I don't want it to show up as often as it does, but I also don't want to be a jerk. I also
yeah,
don't want to be rude. I also don't want to be dismissive. So I'm learning to kind of find that balance in terms of, yeah, I'm the male therapist. Can This is me, how I show up in spaces, regardless if I'm on the clock or not. But I also don't want to be answering your questions every
yeah,
time I come around you in that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is a balance. I like that because I find the reason I said ego is because sometimes it'll want to come up and answer everything. It'll want to do that stereotypical male thing, right? And so for me,
Mhm.
again, I've had to learn to be like, just chill because it ends up
Yeah,
draining me. So I'm like, wait, I don't
right.
need to answer everything. I don't need to know everything.
Mhm,
Sometimes, like if it's my girlfriend or if it's, a friend who just needs to talk,
mhm,
that part will come up like, oh, you know
right.
this, like you could, and I just kind of like, wait a minute, like I'm gonna, I don't have to fix everything. So we're back to
Right.
that kind of male kind of stereotype. But
Yeah.
this brought up a thing for me,
Mhm,
Nigel. In this idea, you mentioned this idea of me becoming me, or me kind of stepping more into who I am. This idea of
yeah.
identity. For you, how do you bring yourself into kind of this psychotherapist journey? Like, what are your maybe highs and lows as a black male that has helped shape you as a psychotherapist?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that have really helped shape me is the books that I was reading. So I'm a huge bookworm, so to say. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy reading.
I
And
don't see no, I don't see no bookshelf in
you know what?
in
It's
the
like
back.
to my right. Like when
Okay,
I fix up this office, man, it's gonna be crazy.
there we
But
go.
right now, I have to be patient. That's what I gotta
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I
There
gotta
we
be
go.
patient. But one of my favorite authors is Bell Hooks, and one of the first books I read by her was The Will to Change. And that book really influenced and shaped me and started my journey, so to say, of just like that emotional awareness, self reflection, all those things. It really kickstarted that journey for me and was a catalyst in shaping me into who I am today as a therapist, especially when it comes to like supporting my black male clients and just being able to give them language and journey with them. Like I'm super, super proud of like the male clients that I have and have had the privilege
Yeah,
to support just because of the journey and progress that they've been making just from
yeah,
that emotional awareness, emotional recognition, and just allowing themselves to grow from an emotional perspective and seeing the ripple effects or the ripple benefits for them in their lives. So I think bell hooks and reading has really like shaped me. And when I come into the therapeutic space, I'm still me in that regard. Like
yeah.
I'm still
That's good.
very chill, still very relaxed, but I also I love empowering clients. I love showing up for them in that regard and just letting them know that, like, yeah, I'm pretty chill. We're going at your pace, but I'm also here to get you where you need to be. So I think one of the things that I'm learning with my identity as a therapist is like it's the power dynamic. Is
Yeah,
understanding how to utilize my power or authority as a therapist in the
hmm,
therapeutic space as a means of supporting the individual. Sometimes it's a struggle, because one of the things as therapists is like we I think we as therapists have crazy foresight. I think we can see a lot of things before they happen, or at least see the path an individual is going on and what could happen at the end. And
yeah,
sometimes it's the aspect of like, I have to let you have your human experience. And I think that's what's been kind of tying in, being a black male therapist and the pressure and being a therapist and how I navigate personal life and all of that. it's learning to allow people to have their human experiences.
Yeah.
I cannot save you. And also, I'm going to at times choose not to save you.
Hmm.
We have to
Yeah.
have our human experiences. A person I follow on Instagram, Kobe Campbell, a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago now, she kind of did like a series of posts talking about like consequences and punishment or along those lines. But one of the things that she said, and I'll paraphrase it, but it's just the aspect that consequences are a natural development. It's a part of the natural development. We need consequence. When we decide to save someone from our consequences, is it us saving them or is it us saving ourselves, that younger person in us that
Yeah.
needed that saving? So it's like it's questioning
Triggers.
it's questioning our motives. And that's something that I've had to learn. Like, why am I choosing to save you right now?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's the aspect of like, yeah, I don't want to see people suffer. I don't want to see people go through things that they don't have to go through. But then it's also the aspect, if I save you, if I step in, is there something I'm preventing you from learning or experiencing that you need to experience, or probably that even God the Father needs you to
Yeah.
experience? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm in the space of just learning, like, yeah, people have to have their human experiences and learning to be okay with that. And that's
Yeah.
hard in the professional life and personal life. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I echo that with my experience. Like I didn't grow up in a black home. I was adopted, very, very, very predominantly white town. And so I had to do a lot of the journeying in later years of what it means to be a black male and connecting with people. But a big thing along those lines, along that journey was this idea of identity, right? And learning my identity and that kind of stuff. And really in that, that helps me not just, it helps me sit with people, right? As I had to learn my identity and sit within that, that's that human experience. I'm sitting with people. This is why I think a lot of my clients can say, man, you make this such a safe space to just
Mhm.
process, just to be, just to there's no shame, no
Right.
guilt, and they can come in and they can work through their
Mhm.
identity and the things they want in their lives. And I can step in and if they want a bit of challenge, if they need to just vent and let it all out and process the things they've been carrying and they're like, man, I don't know who I am apart from survival mode. And it's like, that's all right. Let's walk through that. And so I think as a black male, understanding my own identity from man, I was 20 something before I really dove into to that. But that has helped me understand identity and process and sitting with people. And that a lot more people have this question of who am I? Man, I don't know how many times a bunch of my clients have said that, right?
Mhm.
Who am I? And I think it's through understanding my own self and going through that journey that I can walk with them through theirs. And so that's been a unique experience for me that I can now and been very redemptive for me that I can now bring to my clients.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and it's such an interesting thing to experience when clients get to that vulnerable place and start talking about the things that they've been holding on to for years or never felt safe to talk about or share, and then they do that in a therapy session, and you can almost see that weight being lifted off of them,
Yeah.
you know?
Not almost, you can see it.
You
You
can
can
see
see.
it, just
Yeah.
them just breathing that out or them just, having a moment of like, wow, I can't believe I one was experiencing this, but two that I said this thing out loud and it's now out there. It's one thing that I was bottling up inside, but it's now the aspect like I took the time and I released that. I took the
Yeah.
time and I let that thing go and vocalized it and shared it with someone and or so even with that, just allowing clients to have that moment and them just having that moment where they could be like, yeah, I'm releasing this thing. And we get to see that. We get that to have that privilege of them
Yeah.
doing that. Well, one of the things you said that I thought was so great and was the aspect of like clients seeing you as a safe space. And I think that is so important to kind of like talk about because we're male therapists. And and I think what it is like being a male therapist, we are going against the stigma of what it means to be a black male, essentially. We're going against the stigma of what it looks like culturally, societally to be a black male in this space where we talk about emotions, where we process lived experiences, where we are growing in being more in alignment and in tune and in touch with our inner self. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I speak to this?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Man,
Absolutely.
yeah. I don't know how many, you know, therapists, we got to be on different referral sites and stuff, which means different bios. And sometimes I hesitate of putting, you
Mhm.
know, I create a safe space in my bio because I'm
Uh,
like, is this going to lose my male clients? Right. Because, you know, that I have saved can be synonymous with like, oh, soft, or like,
mhm,
what do we need a safe space for? Like, that's like, you got to be tough, you got to be strong. But I've come to, the more work I do with clients, man,
mhm,
a lot of my male clients and my black male clients as well, is they are responding so well to the word safety, or a
mhm.
safe place, or having a safe place open up for them.
Yeah.
And it totally broke this thing that I was carrying in my mind of like, oh, I can't talk about safe plays. I can't do that
Yeah.
because then men are gonna come against it. No, man. My male clients, I'm so proud of them to see them be like, yo, yeah, I need safety, and make decisions. Hey, I gotta do this because I gotta protect my safety. I need a safe spot. I need to process. I need to feel. I need to vent. I need to emote. I
Yeah.
need to heal. And so that for me has just, you
Mm,
know, broken that kind of maybe fear or apprehension to
mhm,
mention, oh, I create a safe space. It's like, no, this is actually such a big one. And actually, I think one of my greater skills is creating that safe place for a
mhm.
diversity of clients. Like, here's the thing is, this is a unique thing is I think 80% of my clients right now are women. And
Mm,
these are even women who come in and are like, "I've never worked with a male therapist before," or I have past trauma with males."
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not something that freaks me out because
Mhm,
I know a lens that I look through. They tell you in
mhm,
school, don't look through one single lens. Man,
mhm,
the lens I look through is safety. I see it with all my clients. And so, because I've grown in how to create a safe space and to be a safe person, I've
mhm,
been able to work with these women in such amazing ways. And, you know, if with men, women, like
mhm.
to be able to do that with whatever client walks through my door has been so powerful. So now I no longer shy away from putting it in bios. I'm like, yo, like, you need a safe space. Let's do this together. Like,
Mhm.
I will protect that safe space for you.
Mm,
And again, you know, I even feel myself right now. I even feel part of myself wanting to do a disclaimer of like, this doesn't mean I won't challenge or anything, but
yeah.
I don't even want to go into, you know, I can create a safe space, and safety looks different. This is the interesting thing. Safety looks different from client to client, person to person.
Yes.
And that's what joining them in their human experience, and some of the skills we learn as therapists is to notice and to really understand the person in front of us. They're a person, right? They're not just a number, they're a person. And through that, I understand, okay, this is what safety looks like for them. How do we
Right.
unfold that? For
Yeah.
some people, it does look like, I need a bit of direction. I need a bit of challenge. I need a bit of accountability, right? For other
Yeah.
people, it looks like I just need a space right now to let it all out, and then we'll get into the work. Sometimes a safe space for my clients for like the first 4 or 5 sessions is just like, I just need to get it out. And I'll walk through them with that. But yeah, it's been an interesting thing as a male therapist to talk more about safety and vulnerability and emoting and that kind of stuff. So man, I love that part of the conversation.
Yeah, man. And I love what you said there, just like just touching on safety and just how big it is. And as you were saying that, it's so interesting how relationships are formed with certain words that we experience. So an individual in context, a black male, their relationship with the word safety is going to be drastically different from a black female from the aspect of childhood. So we know when it comes to like the totem pole of safety, black females are on the bottom. So we know that. But there's that aspect from like childhood in terms of just like young boys aren't taught that they deserve to be safe, that they deserve to feel safe, right? And with that messaging, it now grows up with them. So now when they are in dire need of feeling safe, they feel like they can't even receive it. They feel like they're not even worthy of it. They feel that they can't, you know, allow themselves to embrace that. So now they're just, defaulting to all the things that they know to do, so to say, that keeps them afloat, and that need goes unmet.
Yeah.
And one of the things that
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was gonna say I see this with them, and then even my black female clients, but I think they're taught survival instead of
Yeah,
safety. There's a big
yeah,
difference, right?
yeah,
And so they're
yeah.
taught survival, which means I'm not safe and I have to protect and I have to guard, right? And I'm not truly safe. I'm never truly safe. So I'm taught survival instead of taught, well, what does actual safety look like? Because I'll talk with
Mhm.
that with my clients and they'll be like, I don't know if I know myself outside of survival mode.
Oh,
And it's like, oh, okay, let's talk about that. So I
right.
think you're right. I think, what are you taught as a child? What do you internalize as a child? And yeah, and I think a big one is survival, not safety. Right.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the aspect of, like, asking that question of why is survival so important to you, and why is it hard to let go? And I
Yeah.
think that in and of itself is gonna unlock a lot of things for Black males in terms of, like, yeah, the reason why I struggle with letting go of survival mode is because that survival mode it's given me so much, so to say. There's a relationship there that my identity is connected to survival. The opportunities that I've gotten in my life has been connected to survival. So if I'm letting that go, there's an aspect of self that I'm letting go. That means there's now a void. How am I gonna fill that void? Yeah.
Man, you
Yeah.
you just you just it was so funny. This is going back to the start. You mentioned, oh, I don't do addictions. You just touched on a massive part of addiction.
Mm,
Addiction, beyond the disease model, more of what
mhm,
Gabor Mate gets into is this idea of, survival and trauma and
mhm.
addiction and finding that safety and soothing. And so a lot of people, when they're trying to quit addictions,
Yeah.
they're like, well, this is why sometimes we externalize the thing they're addicted to, like make
Mm,
it an actual person. And it's like, it feels like a breakup. It's like, I've known myself with this thing, this
yeah.
behavior, this substance for so long that now
Mhm.
I don't know myself without it, or there's going to be this void without it. So my man, you're doing, you're doing addictions counseling right there.
I
But
guess so. I guess so.
yeah,
Because, that comes up a lot in sessions for me is as I support, both male and female clients in terms of, like, if I let this thing go, what is that going to mean for me in terms of my identity? What is that going to mean for me as I relate to other people? And change is more difficult than people think it is. And and at times that change that is needed, it's gonna cost you something. And I think that is a part of it as well, is understanding that, like, the change that we wanna see in our lives is going to cost us something. And
yeah,
sometimes it's gonna cost us the things that we think are serving us, the thing that we think
yeah,
is what's keeping us or that's helping us or aiding us, when the reality is the thing that you're keeping and holding on to is doing a disservice. It's doing
yeah,
more harm than is good. It's slowly causing you to internally deteriorate to the point where, yeah, we don't even recognize ourselves. We're so engrafted in the survival model that I can't answer the question, if survival wasn't an option for me or wasn't present for me, who would I
yeah,
be? If I didn't have to survive all the time, what would living look like?
yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes it's
absolutely.
hard to even think about that because survival mode has given us so much. Yeah,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
I think that I take this conversation to this idea of survival because, I mean, people could look and be like, well, you've never been through a war and you haven't been through this kind of stuff. But I do a lot of work with the nervous system, and
yeah,
the nervous system, fight or flight, that's a survival mechanism. And it doesn't just come up when you're in war.
right.
The nervous system, you might not been through anywhere near as stereotypically traumatic experience as the next person, but your nerve, it depends on your nervous system and how it responds. And so what I do is I actually teach safety on a nervous system level. Like,
Mhm.
what does it mean for people to actually feel like I don't always have to be on edge or in fight or flight? Like, what does
Mhm.
that really look like? Right. And the
Mhm.
cool thing about this is it's getting my male and female clients in tune with their bodies.
Mhm.
And if I think of myself as a male, right, with your body, it always has to be, you got to be tough, you got to be strong. You can never. So what you're actually doing is you're actually promoting the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or
Mhm.
flight, the adrenaline and cortisol. The more your body's tensed up, the more you're ready, right? And so it's amazing to see my male clients start to actually relax in session, to not have to
Mhm.
feel so tensed up all the time. And so, man, safety on a, I mean, we could talk about this all day. Safety on a family level, financial level, spiritual level, nervous system level, on a systemic
Mhm.
level, like all these things, I think safety is a really big thing here. And the one thing I'll say out of this is I'm so proud of my male
Yeah.
clients for
Yeah.
catching it, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we maybe word associate safety with women,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Nurturing, safety, that kind of thing. So to see my male clients catch it,
Yeah.
man, so proud.
I love that. I love that. As we get ready to kind of wrap up this episode, I think we've touched on so many different
Yeah,
things,
man.
and I think a lot of people are gonna just have so much to digest and take away from. But if there was one thing that you could say to to our people that are listening, that are tuning in, that are going to be watching this episode later, what would you say to them on the aspect of safety? Yeah.
Aspect of safety. Oh man, there's so much. Because I love it. It's the lens. It's
Mhm.
the lens I look through.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
would say, and I'm gonna use some client kind of praise stories,
Yeah.
keeping confidentiality, but
Yeah.
I would say as you learn safety on that maybe nervous system level
Mhm.
internally, I've seen external situations not cause as many impacts. I've seen resilience grow. Not that we always have to be resilient, but I've seen
Yeah.
resilience grow. I've seen confidence grow. That internal safety
Mhm.
is a replenishment to your cup. And so,
Mhm.
what I would say to people listening is if that's something you can't do on your own, which there's
Mhm.
no shame in that, if that's something you can't generate on your own, reach out to a therapist, reach out
Mhm.
to a really wise,
Mhm.
mental health coach, reach out to someone that can
Mhm.
help you with this piece. Because when I see clients catch this, all of a sudden certain things grow. All of a sudden they're more
Yeah.
gracious to themselves. All of a sudden the inner critic's not going. All of a sudden they're not feeling tense all the time. All
Mhm.
of a sudden they're not in panic mode all the time.
Mhm.
Like that internal safety at that kind of core belief, identity, nervous system level, I just see it have so many ripple effects. So if you could do it yourself, amazing. Step more into that internal work. It's not weak. It's not like you're doing yourself a service there. If you can't do it on your own, reach
Mhm.
out to a therapist because a lack of safety is the reason why your nervous system goes into a sympathetic fight or
Yeah.
flight, adrenaline and cortisol, panic
Yeah.
attack,
Mhm.
burnout, all these things.
Mhm.
So hit that key piece of safety and watch the ripple effects it has in your life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. If I was to answer that question, I would definitely say take the time to reframe and redefine what safety means to you.
Hmm.
Again, and I think
Wow.
in doing that, you're giving yourself the opportunity to dream almost. And I think one of the things I've seen with clients is that that desire for safety was always there. It just didn't have a space to be expressed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it didn't have it didn't have a space to breathe and to live. So I
Yeah.
would say, dream about what safety looks like for you. And
Yeah.
after you dream, once you start dreaming about something and you're able to see it, you can follow that up with actions. And
Yeah.
it may not be a full, 5-step aspect of this is what safety is going to be for me.
Oh,
This is what I need to do. But one step towards safety is still a step. No
yeah, man.
matter, no
Wow.
matter how big, no matter how small, you take a step towards building safety for yourself. You've taken that step, period. Yeah.
Wow. I think that's brilliant. I
Yeah.
think you hit honestly, I didn't even think of that to redefine what safety looks like. Gives you the opportunity to dream and actually even maybe move more towards action. And so as we wrap up, I know that was maybe going to be the last question. I had a thought on my mind.
Yeah,
Give the listeners something fun, but maybe we can just answer this question, a two-parter,
yeah, of
or
course.
maybe it's a one part into two. But what is something you enjoy,
Hmm.
and what is something that's difficult about
Yeah,
being a black male therapist? Let's just
yeah,
end on that. Doesn't have to be long
yeah.
answers, but
No
something you
worries.
enjoy, something that's difficult.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I enjoy about being a black male therapist is the nuance of it, how different it is, and just being able to take up that space and be that, just to be that. Like, yeah, I'm a black male therapist. It's so different, abnormal. You don't hear it a lot. I've been told we're unicorns and all that stuff. That's one aspect. One of the lows on that is the humanity aspect. I think is especially supporting female clients in terms of like, yeah, I actually can't change that for you. I can't save you. I can't fix that for you. All I can do is literally just support you through this on this side of the screen. I
Yeah,
can't I can't do anything more. Just sometimes, it's just the aspect of like it's so disheartening or so unfortunate to hear individual stories and just seeing how people in their lives have let them down.
yeah,
Yeah, and just seeing that and hearing those stories and just like, man, what would your life have been if that person didn't let you down?
yeah,
If that
yeah,
disappointment wasn't experienced, if that life transition didn't happen, what would your life look like?
yeah,
So I think it's just, being able to hold space, but in the aspect of holding space, having to hold
yeah,
stories as well, and just how impactful and deep those stories can be.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 No,
How
that
about
makes
yourself?
sense. Wow. I
Yeah.
think for me, I think along those same lines as you, I think it's very redemptive, right?
Mhm,
Sometimes, people have uh, a very clear picture in their head of
mhm,
what a black male is, or the stereotype of a black male. And even I went through, I went through my own stuff as
mhm,
and kind of fit
mhm.
certain stereotypes. And so to see where I'm at nowadays, to see as a with a master's degree, as a psychotherapist, as stepping into people's lives, as maybe encountering people who had very similar stories as I am, it's very redemptive, both
Yeah.
as a black male and just as a male, to
Mhm,
step into a place where I can be safe.
mhm,
Like, men sometimes have this thing about them where they aren't safe, right? And so
mhm.
that I my role can be redemptive in what does it mean to be a black male? What does it mean to be a man, right? Like, I,
Yeah.
I think it's very redemptive. I think the lows for me are that there's one, I feel sometimes stuck though
Mm,
in male stereotypes,
okay.
because it's like the way sometimes I hear it is like,
Mhm,
how do you work with women, right? Man, I love working with women, and so sometimes I fear of just being a black male that it won't open the door to work with whoever. I just want to work with
mm,
whoever,
mhm.
right? I love working with males. I love working with females. Like, I want to work with the whole group, but I think sometimes being a black male, there's been such hurt from my
Yeah.
black women clients that they'll see a black male and they'll be apprehensive, and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to work with him, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm hoping through, again, podcasts like these and just being able to share, that I try to create a safe space for everyone.
Mhm,
But yeah, sometimes I feel like I might get looked over as someone that can help women because I am a
mhm.
black male. So that's kind of a low for me, but man, the highs outweigh the lows, I'll tell you that.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah, yeah,
love
yeah.
it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, folks, this brings us to the end of this episode here at Soul Care Conversations. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to share, like, subscribe, do all those things to this episode and to also the channel and page. Josh, are you accepting clients right now? Where are you
I am
at?
accepting clients. Yep, yep. I'm
All right.
accepting
You heard it
clients,
first.
and I opened up my online booking, so now you can
Okay,
actually just go in yourself and yeah,
there
yeah.
you
I'm
go.
I'm seeing clients.
Absolutely. So there you have it. Josh is accepting clients. I myself is also accepting clients. So feel free, absolutely feel free to visit our website at Soul Care Christian Counseling. I believe it's .com. Is it .com?
Yep,
.ca?
yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
.com.
yep.
And just head over to our booking page, book right in, consultations, sessions, all that fun stuff. It was a pleasure getting to serve this community and have this
Absolutely.
conversation. And stay tuned for the next episode.
Yeah.
Peace.
All right, y'all. It's been real.